Morning, everybody. It is Wednesday today, and tomorrow's our last day of the week for our group. So we're over halfway through our week together after today. So anybody that's new to this is the Reseller Revenue Wake Up and Resell group that meets Monday through Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. So on Wednesdays, we are doing our meet the coach until we've got all the coaches interviewed. So, and then we'll go to some members. So I think we'll probably have Wednesdays as an interview day for a while, which I think's great. And today we're going to meet Coach Larry, who, if you did not catch his call yesterday, it was awesome. He did some like hands-on repair, refurbish type stuff with basically what I love. He always shows us things that anybody can do. Like these are not things that only he could do. These are things that any of us could do and make our jobs easier. So I uploaded that yesterday to I thought it was good enough. I went and threw it on YouTube. I threw it up on Patreon and our Facebook group. So catch Larry's call from yesterday if you didn't, but he had a pretty full room the whole time, and it was a really good call. So catch that if you can. He does his on Mondays at 11. So I'm just going to turn it over to Larry, and then if he wants me to ask him questions when he's done saying what he wants to do, then I will ask him some questions, and you guys can ask Larry questions. So jump on and
Sure.
go
So
ahead, Larry.
my name's Larry Mead. I'm going to give you a little bit of rundown on my background, and then talk a little bit about where I'm hoping to go with this Monday morning call that I've got going. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Went to school at Arizona State University, where I got 2 degrees in manufacturing engineering, which is kind of a weird hybrid between industrial engineering and mechanical engineering. Lots of hands-on with material science kind of stuff, plastics, casting, welding. I took 2 years worth of welding. I took a couple of years worth of machine shop, that kind of stuff. So lots of hands-on kind of stuff. And it comes from, when I was a little kid, I was always dinking around with stuff and making things and, breaking things and that sort of thing. So after school, I went to work as a contractor to NASA. I worked on space station for a couple of years before it went and flew. From there, I started a long career at Hewlett Packard. They hired me on initially to do control systems for manufacturing, basically production automation, things that move, robots and things like that. And eventually it turned into data and data architecture and reporting. I was there for about 18 years in Corvallis, Oregon. I left as the reporting and analytics architect for all of inkjet manufacturing division of HP. I went to work for a small data systems company, was there for about 11 years. There, I was doing data warehousing and analytics type of activities for a very wide variety of customers, ranging from banks to pharmaceutical companies and medical organizations, government organizations, a bunch of weird places that they had me flying in and out of all the time, working on projects that would last anywhere from 4 months to a couple of years. The last 5 years in that role, um, at that company, I took on kind of a mentoring kind of role and teaching some of the new hires and college grads how to move, store, manipulate, and analyze data. Um, I retired next week. It'll be 1 year. Retired 1 year ago, and I was basically doing way too much travel, lots and lots of stress, given the impact of some of these systems I was involved with. The politics were getting nasty. And so after 35 years, I figured I'm done. My wife is, I've always had multiple irons in the fire. My whole life. I'm borderline ADHD. I'm all over the place. My wife used to say that, you're never going to retire. You're just going to get less pay and worse benefits. And that's pretty much true. Over the years, I've been a maker, if you're familiar with that term. I like to make things. I can make animal balloons. I can make guitars and amplifiers, fishing lures, video arcade machines. I've been all over the map as far as making things. Um, I started dabbling in reselling about 5 years ago and went all in when I retired. What started it all off was about 5 years ago. My wife and I were at a garage sale, and we came across this box filled with Chinese stuff, and there were fans and cheap paper things. There were some wooden pieces. Turns out that and I picked it up for like 20 bucks. And turns out those wooden pieces were like 200 years old, antique, very, very expensive. Um, didn't know how to get them valued, so I just put them up for auction, and they ended up selling for over 400 bucks. It's like, whoa, okay, this is cool. So that kind of got me started, and the rest is kind of history. I'm currently an everything seller, with emphasis. I mean, I'll sell anything that I can make a buck at, but I tend to do better with industrial controls kind of stuff, industrial surplus, construction surplus, night lights, knobs, brackets, doorknobs, that class of thing. I'm also getting fairly good at doing golf clubs, and to pay the bills during the winter, I got involved in shoes. So I'm kind of all over the map. But again, I'll sell darn near anything from, reams of paper to I just picked up a case of Ziploc baggies and a $300 piece of glassware. It's all over the place. It's as far as this weekly call I'm doing, it's really in line with my desire to teach and to mentor and to use some of the things that I've learned both in school and in my life to kind of help us all as we're going through this process of trying to add value to the things we buy. The focus is going to be on basically hand tools and techniques involved in cleaning and repairing and otherwise basically just increasing the value of the stuff that we pick up to try to help optimize the resale value. A couple weeks ago, I hopped into my favorite brainstorming tool, a tool called FreeMind, to come up with just some of the topics that I could possibly do. I was also considering doing this as a podcast, and I'm hoping that I can learn something from that call that's coming up on doing YouTube stuff to maybe launch a little side gig about generating some income off of YouTube with this class of little shorts or presentations. When I sat down though, I dumped this out. Let me share my screen here real quick. This is not a all-inclusive list, and it probably includes some stuff that nobody cares about. But again, as I'm describing or showing how to change a grip on a golf club, I suspect that even if you're never going to see a golf club or change out a grip, there's going to be something to be learned in either the technique, the handling, the processes, the chemicals, the solutions, whatever it is, that I think will be beneficial for all of us. Let me share my screen here. I'm definitely open to suggestions on this stuff, so feel free to either leave me a note or chime in here in a minute as soon as I'm done. Where's the share button? There we go. We share the screen. And this is in no particular order. I've got basically what I did here on this product stuff on the left, and I acknowledge it's probably pretty hard to see. Let me make it a little bit bigger. I started off and I just took a look down some of my solds in the past month or two and just was going through the list and some of the stuff that came up. It's like, oh yeah, I could talk a little bit about this. And I had an aluminum pot that I had to polish, and I had an old video system I had to buy a format converter for. Sewing machine. I occasionally sell sewing machines, so there's a couple of different topics I can talk about for sewing machines. Small cameras are a mainstay. I make a lot of, not a lot, but I mean, they're very consistent. $30 to $50 profit on these small cameras, coffee mugs, greasy tools, voltmeters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just was dumping out of my head, okay, for this particular thing, what can I talk about? Gaming systems, the video outputs, how do you power these things? How do you clean the cartridges? That sort of thing. Car radios, stay away from, et cetera, et cetera. And I know not everybody would agree with staying away from car radios, but I've had bad luck with them. Remote controls, et cetera. So from there, I started considering, okay, what's really going on? What are some of the processes here that I can talk about? And so then this is more to focus on the processes that I potentially could teach on. Cleaning of tennis shoes, leather in general, golf clubs, metal baseball bats, fishing reels, all of these things that I've cleaned over the years and potentially have some value add. I didn't mention it, but I mean, I'm a real stickler on, you know, the nuggets per hour kind of thing. How valuable is your time? Because I know I hate sitting down for 2.5 hours listening to something to maybe get a half of a nugget of something that I probably could have looked up in 5 minutes. But so I'm trying to make these things short, compact, and very information rich. Let me know if I'm successful or not. I don't know, but those are kind of my objectives. So I did some dumping here on things I might talk about for cleaning supplies, tools, things to clean, maybe some practical examples of how to clean some of this stuff. One of the things I did when in my side business, I had a business for about 10 years making guitars and amplifiers out of old cigar boxes. And I would almost always have a $10 an hour kid. I'm using the term kid loosely, you know, 16-year-old to 25-year-old in the shop working for me. And there were a number of things that I would always teach every single person that would come in my shop. No matter who they were, I didn't care whether I needed it right then and there. I taught them how to solder. I taught them how to drill holes with a drill press. I taught them how to deal with stripped out screws, how not to strip screws, and then sanding and polishing. I mean, those were some of the basics I always taught. I taught them how to use a voltmeter. So, you know, there's some basic stuff that I know how to teach, and I think I personally I think is very valuable to anybody that's interacting with the various stuff that an everything seller would learn need, as well as those that are very niche down that maybe these you don't use these in your reselling business, but you could possibly use them in life somewhere. Um, I've got a lot of different things I can teach on for testing of audio equipment, testing of power tools, testing of batteries. How do you deal with the fact that you don't have an AC, the little plug? Is it a 9 volt? Is it a 12 volt? Is it an 18 volt? What's the polarity? So I can definitely put together a talk on DC power supplies. There are a lot of topics I could talk about on batteries, corrosion testing, repairing and finishing. This is just the very beginning. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I can cover here in repairing, finishing. I've in the past I did a white paper on glues and adhesives. I think I could resurrect that as a talk. There's definitely some conversation to be had around parting out different things. This isn't necessarily a repair thing as much as a business model thing, but um, a lot of videos have been done on this sort of thing. But you can make more money off of a of a Ninja food processor by breaking it up into the three pieces that are typically resellable than selling the whole thing. So I could probably do a 10-minute talk, 15-minute talk on that, et cetera, et cetera. Random things. Subcontracting out the work. Know when you're over your head, and I can do a little talk on subcontracting out work. I recently did this thing on rotary tools, et cetera. So this is just my laundry list of the potential things that I'm planning on covering or potentially could cover in this call that I'm calling the Resellers Repair Shop. And I'm really looking forward to going through this journey with you guys and hope that we can all learn and improve together as we go through this process.
Good job, Larry. That's why Larry's my go-to spreadsheet guy because he can whip out things in way better fashion than I can with data and spreadsheets. It does it does a good job. So yeah, and what a great list that you have started. Like it's awesome. Does anybody have any
Thanks.
questions for Larry?
I don't, but I'm sure I will, and he'll be the go-to. And he's patient too. Larry doesn't get frustrated.
Larry's very patient. Larry and Russell both. Larry and Russell both. Russell's pretty patient too.
Yeah.
And I may not be right all the time, but I'd like to think I'm humble. And so I mean, if you hear me say something that's just flat out wrong or stupid, call me out on it because chances are you're right. But I'm just going. So
I only do that with jewelry, Larry. I only do that with your jewelry. That's it. And I thought it was pretty, I thought you guys, I look, one of my favorite things that I tell my husband all the time is, we're gonna have to work something out because Larry's wife had it figured out when he told Larry that he needed to find something to do because he was in her house too much. And I'm like, that's what's gonna happen to me with my husband in retirement. I'm afraid, like, you've been gone our whole career and now you're gonna live in my house again. Like, I don't know. So I'm glad that you gave me that life heads up because I feel like I'm gonna need that. Yeah, do you fix jewelry, Larry?
Um, Back in college, I worked for a summer making, quote, authentic Indian jewelry. And I put air quotes around that because it wasn't authentic. It was me in the guy's garage in Phoenix. But we made the jewelry that was sold to the tribes in northern Arizona up by the Grand Canyon and Petrified Forest area. Um, I personally don't have a lot of the fine tooling that I would need, right? Typically, you would have a small acetylene torch. I don't have acetylene tanks. I don't want acetylene tanks in my house. Um, but there's some basics I think we could definitely go over.
Yeah,
Um,
just basic repair would be good enough for me because I do none of it. I just don't do any of it. So maybe you could teach us a few things. And what was your favorite position or favorite company you worked for? Was it the Hewlett Packard or did you have another smaller job that you enjoyed?
uh, I really enjoyed my work at HP, especially the latter half, because at that point I had become the go-to guy for everything reporting and analytics. And so I had a lot of influence over big major projects that were going on in the facilities that HP had in Ireland and Singapore. The international travel was kind of cool. You know, a couple times a year I'd be in Singapore. Um, this more recently, this last job I was in, I really enjoyed it because I was constantly learning. The IT space, the data space is very fast. And so you'd have to keep up on things and being a lead designer, you know, you don't want the 28-year-old kids, you know, running circles around you. So I had to keep up on the certifications and all the different stuff. I really enjoyed pouring into some of those kids. I enjoyed it in my wood shop with mentoring people on how to use drill presses and as well as college grads on the politics of an organization. Hey, we're about to go into this scenario. You'll notice the guy he's always wearing a black jacket. That dude has this, and so when you hear this, don't do that. You know, this basic mentoring of people. That was the most fun for me. And delivering these really cool multi-million-dollar systems was cool too. But I think I enjoyed the people interaction and the mentoring more than that.
I could see you being really good at that. Harry,
Larry, is that one of your guitars behind you? Your cigar, I guess, the cigar box guitars.
Yeah.
You mentioned them several times. I'm kind of curious.
So that's a guitar. This is what I made out of a cigar box.
Yep.
And I would make the neck. I made all of this, right?
Yep.
Except for the box. But
that's hilarious.
I
I
sold
love that.
512 of these things I've made over the years. And
Very cool.
the other thing is a picture I had from that was the out the door thing from NASA. As the project got canceled, or at least the major effort we were involved with got canceled, and they laid off thousands of people. Something they do in the NASA culture is they take a picture related to the project and then sign the border, so everybody gets a framed picture with everybody's signature on it. So that was that thing
Pretty
that's
cool.
there. This other thing is mead bread. Turns out that mead in a weird branch of my family tree, mead bred in the Ohio, Oklahoma, basically the Midwest. Apparently, mead bread was a big thing, and that's a sheet of 4 or 5 bags, if you will, that I found somewhere along the line and framed up. But anyway,
Well,
lots
not
of
everybody has a signed NASA photo. That's pretty cool. Not everybody has that.
yeah. That was a
Kevin's
that was a really interesting lesson in government funded engineering. I It was really eye-opening how wasteful our government is in getting things done.
mm-hmm.
I got a couple of interesting stories I could tell, but suffice it to say, one day I went to my NASA sponsor and said, "Hey, man, I can't believe what this company is doing. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this piece of software that they can buy for $10,000." And he said, "You haven't been around here long, have you? Shut the door." And he proceeded to school me on the profitability of NASA contracts and government contracts, and how, they don't make any money if they buy software. They make money if they have labor building software. So who am I to question their objectives? It's like, this makes no sense. Anyway, that was a real eye
It
opener.
doesn't. Kevin,
Morning.
good morning.
Larry, question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are a highly educated, highly skilled, highly knowledgeable person on really many realms, which is why you have been and probably will continue to be very successful at selling everything. But being a person of much less experience, a person of much less of everything, and probably many people who will come into this group will be in the category more like me. Um, do you plan to encourage people to do everything
No.
and try and, okay. I understand Google's a great resource, but um, I kind of guess I just wonder if this group is still going to be a group that encourages people to niche themselves into success, which is where um how it's worked out for me.
Yeah. I need to niche down. I've come to that realization a long time ago. I just haven't found a consistent source of something that will both be profitable, won't be a flooded market, and that intrigues me. Right. A big piece of what I'm doing here, I don't need to be doing this. So it's more about am I having fun? Am I occupying my time? Am I not stressing out? And for me personally, given my background and being an everything seller, really scratches that itch, so to speak. So, but in the meantime, I'm making huge mistakes and I'm wasting lots of time in sourcing and in research and in other things that, from a business perspective, are not the way to go. And I know it, but a piece of me would just love to, follow any one of your guys' trails of, Carrie, getting to know jewelry. I'd love to do jewelry just because I used to make it, and it takes up so much less space. Or like Russell, with jeans or whatever, because you got 3 bags to worry about and your processes are 45 seconds and you can list in a minute and a half. But so I'm not going to encourage anybody to be an everything seller. I just fall into that niche because I know that I can make it profitable given my background, and it scratches the itch of, wanting to learn more. But I know it's inefficient as hell, and there's easier ways, more effective, efficient ways to use your time if you niche down. So whatever
As
works for
far
you,
as
man.
as far as the group recommendation, so I personally, for scalability reasons, feel that niching down, if you're going to scale of any sort, is a really good way to go. Doesn't mean you only have to pick one thing and sell it forever. That doesn't really mean that. It means like you could have 2 niches, you could have whatever, but I feel like to really scale a business, if you're ever like shooting for the stars to make money type of thing, I feel that niching is the way to go. Now, we're all at different stages, like Larry's not planning on, exploding this huge business. So it will work for him. We all have different goals and paths, so we have to do what's right for us. But if you're looking at it as widgets and cash, just in business sense, I feel like that's for time, money, and space, niching is the way to go.
I second that.
Yep. All right, I'm going to end the YouTube portion here. If anybody wants to join us on the second part, just go to our Patreon or our Facebook at Reseller Revenue, and all of our videos will be there. It's free until January, so